Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the WinMagic Speed Webinar series. Today, we're going to be focusing on thwarting phishing attacks designed for credential theft with multi-factor authentication, and we're going to be demoing this concept for you guys today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend today's demo. Shout out to those of you, especially those of you attending from overseas. But as always, I have a few logistics to go through before we begin. Today's webinar, as always, will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be delivered to your inbox via our follow-up thank you emails. We'd like to encourage the audience to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. That way we can follow up. Sorry, the webinar. That way we can use your feedback to continue to deliver high quality content. My bad with that. Feel free to drop a question in the Q&A box below, and we will do our best to get to them today. Otherwise, by all means, let's get started. So before I introduce today's speakers, I just wanted to take the opportunity to lead us through a light agenda of today's webinar. So first, we're going to do a little bit of a recap of our previous webinar on phishing. Specifically, Gary will be leading you through that. Raj Sisu will be leading us through the demonstration portion of the presentation, and then we're going to follow up with a summary of today's demonstration in a quick Q&A period. I'd like to take a moment to thank today's speakers for joining us and introduce them to you. We have our star of our show here today, Gary McCracken. He's our CISO and VP of Technology here at WinMagic, and Raj Sisu is our pre-sales engineer, who will be walking us through today's demo today. All right, with that, I'll be turning it over to Gary.
Well, first of all, Graham Rares is the star today. I'm a supporting cast. But what I will do is I give a little bit of a recap for the set Rares up here. So in our previous webinar, we on phishing more dangerous than you thought, we explored how phishing is often a root enabler behind the attacks and the headlines. We also touched upon that phishing is also very prevalent. For example, the FBI Internet Crime Report for 2020 noted over 240,000 victims of phishing-related attacks. So let's just take a quick look at phishing itself, the definition of it. So phishing, as I'm sure you all know, is a type of social engineering attack where the attacker sends some kind of fraudulent message, and it's designed to trick a human being into either revealing sensitive information like a social insurance number or a password or something like that, or to trick a human being into clicking on something and installing malware. But it's a social engineering, so it's an attack on a human. There's different subcategories of phishing, but the one of most note, I think, is spear phishing. So with spear phishing, the attacker researches the individual and the organization and their role in the organization, and then they craft a message that has enough of that information in it to make the receiver of it, potential victim, trust it, and then act upon that message. Reveal the information, click on that link. Spear phishing is the most dangerous type of and most effective type of phishing, and according to a Deloitte report, 91% of successful data breaches, or it's successful in 91% of successful data breaches. Now, we're going to talk a lot about email, but yes, phishing can be used on phones or faxes or SMS text messages or whatever, but it's often email is the delivery vehicle for phishing. And where does phishing fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, we talked about the cyber kill chain and how these attacks actually occur over weeks or months or even years, and there are many various stages of them. There's the reconnaissance stage, the lateral movement stage, maybe the data exfiltration stage at the end, or maybe that's the ransomware stage at the end. But phishing is usually not the end goal of the attack. It's usually more likely to be used early on in the beginning part of the attack, where the user or the attacker uses it to perhaps steal the credentials. And then they can use those credentials, for instance, in a business email compromise attack later on. Or maybe they use those credentials to move laterally within the system, they gain access to more and more systems until they have access to all the data, and then they execute their malware for the ransomware attack. So anyway, phishing is often used near the beginning of these attack cycles, and it's often not the end goal in itself. So the connection to the headlines, a lot of the attacks you see in headlines in phishing is often credential theft. And we noted that Cofense's annual phishing report shows that more than half of phishing emails are designed to steal user credentials. So there's a big correlation between phishing and credential theft. So what's the problem? The problem is passwords. Passwords are phishable. Even one-time passwords are phishable. And so today, we're going to show you just how easy it is to have your password phished, or Raris is going to show you. And then we're going to show you how phishing can, for credentials, can be thwarted with some technology. Raris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Gary and Graham, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. So following on Gary's points, we can see clear evidence backed by many reports and statistics how phishing attacks are on the rise and are becoming more and more sophisticated. No longer are attacks only being carried out by lone hackers or small groups. In fact, major crime rings and nation-backed cyber terrorists are perpetuating much more sophisticated and targeted attacks. So as mentioned earlier, email is still the primary point of attack, where attackers manage to create quite compelling and luring content, managing to trick to action even a seasoned user. And this is what our demo will try to show today, right? How a well-planned spear phishing attack will try to trick employees of a specific company, a targeted company, to access a fake site, a fake website, in order to phish for the user account and credentials, right? So I will have to start sharing my screen, so bear with me 2 seconds to do that. All right, so here we go. So for today's demo, I'm going to play the roles of both of an attack victim as well as the attacker, right? So for that, I prepared 2 machines. So this is the victim, machine of the victim, and the employees. And this is the machine of the attacker, right, of the cyber attacker. Okay, so let's pretend my name is John. I am a help desk admin, in a typical company. And part of my day-to-day functions is to log into a particular website using my username and password, right? So let's go ahead and do just that. All right. And the website, of course, we will do that, or at least majority of ours. We are bookmarking our website, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm about right now to, apologies for the noise, just muted my phone. Okay, so this is it, accessing the website and going on with my credentials. And let's go with the password, and here we go, log in. So this is like a software as a service website, right? So it's externally available, pretty much like, Salesforce, Office 365, Gmail, so on. So that's it. I'm logged in, and pretty much here I'll try to do whatever else, right? But that's the website, the future to be targeted resource of the company. Okay, so now going on my daily routines, and in a particular day, I'm opening up my email, and then this is the email that I'm getting. So here it is. We are officially going see if the spear phishing attack is actually going to succeed. And it's been a crazy day. Today it's one of those days. So, I'm just kind of, seeing the email. It catches my attention, of course, because it comes with a bolded, urgent, need your assistance. I'm seeing the sender, Brian. Brian, it's our supervisor, legit email, as you can see. It just matches our naming convention, bjohnson@winmagic.com. And together, let's go through the text, just to emphasize back to Gary's point that a spear phishing attack, it's a well documented, it's a lot of intel gathering by the attackers, so they try to actually make it almost real, right? So let's read the text. I had to leave early for a doctor appointment, and Jason, indeed, that's his name, urgently needs our daily report. Indeed, we do a daily report, and we know that Jason requires that report from upper management. So, okay, I'm a bit kind of taken aback because, normally it's Brian's job to do this, but of course, he's to a doctor appointment, so, I'm trying to help, right? So, of course, the URL is available right there. I know the website. Okay, so I'm just, compelled in a way. Our brain pretty much functions this way, right? So clicking on the URL, here we go. So this is it right now. It's the attack, it's ongoing. So first things first, the landing site, it all appears the same, right? So I'm not kind of, I don't start to be kind of, wondering what's going on here, right? So I have a legit secure site. Appears to be a valid certificate, everything that, what you normally expect. Now, here is the big difference, right? I'm not paying attention because, like I said, it's one of those days, and I'm not paying attention that actually the URL has a tiny change of character. So, of course, without thinking too much of it, no red flags, all appears to be fine. I'm, of course, attempting to authenticate. Let's go. And, of course, what's about to happen, it's pretty obvious, as in username and password incorrect. Okay, so I go like, okay, like, how about me thinking to make sure that I'm not doing a typo or any of that sort? I will, apologies on that. So I will try to just pass the very complex, long password that I have, right? And making sure that there's going to be no errors in here. I'm going with the code 70QPDJ and log on. Of course, we know no matter what we try, this is pretty much, yeah, I did a typo with the code, but the idea is that, let's try this again. Idea is the password, it will never gonna be available because pretty much this is right now per intended, right? Our credentials have been just phished. And right now, me as an employee, I'm going like, you know what? Something must be off. I don't know. It's a long day, pressure. How about I'm just going from my booked marked site? I'm going to try this again. And let's say I'm able to authenticate, right? So let's finish this off. And here I go. I'm not thinking too much of it right now. I'm going in, I will generate the report and send it to Brian, right? Now, the thing is, pretty much in this particular moment where time is of essence, the hacker, it's already receiving information that one of his intended targets have been pretty much, they managed to have a hit, right? So I'm going to just delete this email. So the idea is that this is pretty much, they have their own methods of receiving alerts and monitoring, and, just going on the limb here, hit, indeed, our fake site has been hit, and we're managed to phish the credentials. And because these guys, they make everything easy for them to quickly get a hold of the system that they are planning to attack. Here we go. I'm just going to quickly just copy credentials, and I will attempt, of course, to authenticate in here as soon as I can. And let's do this. All right. And here we go. I'm in. right? So as a hacker, I'm now able to deploy all my tools and, you know, putting all the possible, you know, backdoors, Trojans, you name it. So, you know, going on with the actual target and pretty much taking a hold of the system, right? So with that being said, you know, we're going to pretty much take a big pause in here, right? And then we realize that how this could happen, right? How can we could have prevented this from happening, right? So in part of our previous webinars, indeed, we're saying, Gary was mentioning at one point that WinMagic is a good practice. We have a security committee, which is mandated that constantly to try to, you know, stay ahead of the technical and digital trends, securities, of course, and then making sure that, you know, all the WinMagic employees were being trained constantly and with the latest vector attacks, informations like that, awareness. So, you know, for us to know, to kind of be prepared if possible when situations like that can happen, and then not taking any action, of course, and then right away engage our IT department. But as we've been through this demo right now, and I'm pretty sure many of you can relate, maybe, you know, in a particular day when things are pretty much crazy and hectic, it's enough just on one of those days, something like this, what I just did, me as John, it's what an attacker needs, right? So how can you fix this, right? So the real solution is actually to implement a stronger authentication using Fido technology, right? The latest Fido 2 standards, if you will. So what this is, it's you know, many of you, I believe that you know already, but just summarizing, it's an authentication based on asymmetric key encryption, where pretty much the standards of this Fido technology is like security, of course, privacy, and ease of use, and all of those are, you know, these guys is based on the Fido 2 Alliance, and these guys pretty much are the ones who, you know, introduced U2F with the CTAP versions and so on, right? So back to the issue at hand here, and how, you know, answering to the question, how can this could have been prevented? As a company here, any web application that we have out there, it should be from this moment on protected with as a web server. The part of the Fido standard, the server side, it is to implement the web authentication mechanism protocol. And from the user's perspective, at the device level, to bring in the concept of a Fido authenticator, right? So here it is. We're going to showcase here exactly this type of protection. The website by now has been upgraded with this web authentication protocol. And on the computer right now, and this is it, allow me to minimize this and show you this, right? So at the computer level, we have right now our secure.passwordless authentication client, our Fido Easy Authenticator. It's already installed, it's already provisioned, and pretty much let's see how this will play out when we are seeking to protect authentication of the user leveraging a security key, okay? So here we go. So by now, John received from the IT department a full list of instructions on how to create his security key, and let's go. We are still, you know, I didn't have to log off, so let's pretend right now we are back in the website, of course, and now following the instructions from IT, John is about to install the security key. Okay, so administrator management. All right, so selecting my account. As a reminder, again, the website has been upgraded with a web authentication, leveraging MFA ability and the security keys creation. So we go with this. So this right now, John, for John, this has to make sense with the key that he's about to create, because you can create multiple keys, right? So here, me pretty much is just like my name and pretty much the label, because pretty much is the label of the key that we are creating now. and is pretty much the name of my device. So this is my loaner. If I would have a different computer, then I will just try to kind of make that information in my key name. So we are triggering the registration. So here pretty much we are just gonna hand over the requirement to the operating system. So Windows 10 takes over, and indeed we are now, this is that easy, you create a security key. Our authenticator here, it's showing us which choices do we want to protect the security key. Of course, we're selecting the TPM, and that was it. That was that easy, right? So just to make sure, before I show you exactly the part within the Fido authenticator, the last piece that we need to make sure that we are going to put in place here at the web application level is activating that MFA piece, right? So let's go, John Smith, and then here we're going to activate the MFA, okay? Right? And guess we want to do this, right? So let's see what just happened with that security key and the prompt that we just had, right? In one of our previous webinar, we kind of went about this, but it's always good to have a refresher. So let's say I'm going to try to, of course, I've been logged out. This is by design. Again, Fido standards. After a certain amount of inactivity, we are logged. We need to re-authenticate in the authenticator. So here we go. Here, this one requires a, think of it like every time you restart the phone, an iPhone or whatever phone, you have to do a PIN. So I will just do this right now. Just waiting for the prompt here to key in my PIN. Here we go. That's it. So this could be as simple as a couple of digits, but well, but the idea is that it can be an alphanumeric, a lot of complexity. You can do it as complex as you like, right? So here we go in the configuration area, and we want to see what just happened, right? So referencing to the previous webinars where when we secured our Salesforce. So Salesforce, it's for now only allows the security key to be in a U2F format, but Microsoft, the way we protect our access to Microsoft 365, it's full FIDO 2. And the site that we just authenticate and created the security key, it's the last entry in here. And as you can see, the built-in security mechanism of FIDO 2 standards pretty much allows us, you can see the security key, it's associated directly with the URL. So there is no way you can try to authenticate on anything else but the intended targeted website, right? So that's pretty much, goes without saying exactly what we just experienced before, right? So now let's see if we can do something quickly here, right? So we are right now authenticated. Let's pretend with all the protection that we just put in place. Now let's go back to the hacker machine and let's see if he's going to be able to authenticate again to the website, right? So let's go quickly. I'm just going to type it. I think it's going to be much more faster, right? So low-key HQ local. That's it. Okay. So we already know the credentials. I'm not going to go on that email, right? So as an attacker, I'm trying to authenticate again. And let's see what is going to happen now. So I'm going to try to zoom this in for the audience. Maybe it's too much of a zoom. So hoping that everybody can see this. Look at the error message, right? So right now with activation of enabling the MFA authentication on the website, actually right now the hacker, even if he carried out successfully a phishing attack, if let's say the website has been secure with the Fido 2 technology, pretty much this is it. Even if I have legit and valid credentials, I still cannot authenticate no more. So just to finish, I don't know, getting closer to my demo here. If we're gonna try to, I'm gonna just close the browser again. I know I should have logged off, but no matter. I'm going to try again. This is to pretty much close the loop on the Fido standards. And you remember when I was saying the ease of use for users, right? So let's see now for the legit account, just authentication with Fido 2. I'm not going to even fill in the fields here. I'm simply going on the other methods. I'm simply calling on the security key. And I'm going to wait for our Fido authenticator right now to ask for the user to pass the biometrics, which has been configured with the hello. So here I go. No username, no password. I'm already logged in. The beauty of Fido 2 standard technology, right? So this is how, I mean, from our standpoint of view, as you can imagine, this is how an organization can combine secure passwordless authentication with a Fido capable web application, fully implemented with the web authentication protocol, and such protection in place that will absolutely prevent a sophisticated phishing attack, going and compromising sensitive system like this. So I hope you enjoyed this demo. Thank you for watching, and I'll give it back to Gary. Thank you again.
Thank you, Raris, for that demo. We do have some questions come in. We only have a few minutes left, so let me see if I can get through some of these at least, and if we not, we'll get back to you in writing. First question. So is Fido Easy 100% solution to protect against phishing attacks? The short answer is no. As often is the case in security, there's more than no one thing you can do that'll give you 100% protection. It's about layers of protection and defense in depth. Other things organizations should do, security awareness training. Phishing is a social engineering attack against people. They may be your last line of defense. So provide them some security awareness training that has a component on phishing. Give them a fighting chance to spot these phishing attacks as they come in. But there are technical things you can and should do also. Email gateway filters. Maybe you can catch a lot of the generic phishing attacks as they can come in. You can spot the obvious one, filter them out so you don't tire out your user too much. Antivirus, both on the way in and on the local machine. One stat, 12% of phishing emails contain malware payloads. So if they do click on that link, maybe get them, maybe the antivirus will pick it up. But 50% of phishing emails think credential theft. This is where MFA comes in. But even methods like MFA methods like SMS text or one-time password code can be phished too. So Fido is the best choice. As Rare said, it's a standard, it's anti-phishing built right into the protocol. We use the second factor in sites like Salesforce as a second step. So even if the password is phished, the second factor isn't. Or on passwordless sites like Microsoft Office 365, where there's no password to phish. So SecureDoc password authentication is one of the best mitigations. Do we have time for another question, Graham?
Yeah, I think we do have time for one more.
All right, well, stop me if I go too long. Here's another one here. Can Fido be integrated with biometric authentication? Well, yes, for sure. As Raris, I think, showed you, he used his fingerprint to authenticate to the security key. Other factors available, more specifically facial recognition on computers, laptops that support and have the cameras that'll support that. And another question, while most users have a primary work device, how can we handle a situation where they occasionally need to move to a new device within our organization? Okay, so that might be like the work at home or go to work and you don't bring your computer with you. Rare showed well, how he used the TPM in the laptop to turn that computer into a hardware-backed security key. So the computer becomes something you have. So that's a very typical use case, but maybe you're moving from home to the office and you're not taking your computer with you, in which case something like turning your iPhone into the security key, something SecureDoc password authentication supports. And so then you have your security key wherever your iPhone is. Graham, I think we're probably at time now.
Yeah, I think we're good. We're right at the time, so I'll start to wrap it up here. thanks, Gary. I just have a few closing remarks from this point forward. Thank you for taking the time to answer those questions as well. I think they were really topical for today's discussion. So thank you for the audience members that asked those questions as well. Thank you, Raresh, for taking the time to demo our demo here for us today and walk us through this and really show that Fido MFA is a solution to credential-focused phishing attacks. Now, as we approach conclusion here today, none of this would be possible without the audience. So I want to thank you guys for attending today's demo and remind you that if we haven't answered your question, a WinMagic rep will reach out to you directly to answer it. We look forward to seeing you for our next Speed webinar, where we will be discussing President Biden's executive order on cybersecurity. And finally, I'd just like to leave a note with, if you would love to learn more about WinMagic or SecureDoc, or interested in learning more about some aspect of our SecureDoc solution in its various forms, please follow the steps on screen, and that'll take you right to our Gartner Peer Insights listing, where you can read reviews from our customers. With that, until next time, these are your WinMagic Encrypt Everything experts signing off.